Alright guys, I'm pretty sure you can hear me. I'm waiting for people to hop on here. Got you guys pulled up on my phone. It actually worked today. Yay! Alright. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the day, if you can, whether you're working or not. And yeah, I don't know about where you are. It's beautiful here today. I don't know how warm it is just yet, but I know yesterday it was 76, I think was the highest that I saw. So, yeah, and today it's looking to be about the same, which is very unusual for this time of year. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to switch over so you can see my desktop, messy as it is. Voila, we're reusing our notepad. All right, so let's just get started, shall we? Pauline, that just, oh, I was gonna say that means spring stuff, but you're in the fall now, I believe. So my theory just went out the window. Pauline said it's Friday and pouring rain for her. So she's in Australia. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody. So I see a ton of people on here already. Pauline, Rhonda, Danielle, Callie, Jackie, Dawn, Kaylee, and more. I know there's more. I don't know. I can't see them. All right. So today, it's really easy. We're going to do a different closure today than what I have on here because I can't remember how to actually tie this. I know there's a way. I've seen it. I've done it. I just can't remember what it is. So I'm going to show you a different way to close this. So this is a retired closure that we used to sell. Oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many years ago. They're very long since retired. But we're gonna do this little mini album, and it just opens and opens and opens and opens. And then each of these is a pocket. And that one is empty. And then one more pocket. So, I went off the original instructions that I found for this. I actually made 2 changes to it, and I'm going to make even more changes live. So in theory they work, hopefully they work. And yeah, I know it'll work. It'll just be a little bit chunkier than this is. So let me refold this again. Okay. So it's completely enclosed. I even have paper on the back. And you could fold it kind of a zigzag style like this. And I would, however, that's A, not how the original was, and B, I didn't do the paper so that I could do that. And so that does kind of leave this open, so you could kind of set it up like a purse. That would be kind of cute, actually. And again, different closure. So this is how it goes. This is how I'm going to teach it today with the slight variations. So as you can see, it's not very thick. It is less than 1/4 inch thick, but we're going to change some of that because it gets a little bit bulky when putting in the papers. And this is just the card bases that I've cut in half. I did try the entire card base into each of the pockets and it did not close correctly. So we are going to make some changes, but this is what we're going to do. So what you need is you need 4 envelopes. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do a larger size. That's not a problem at all. I'm just using the A2 size. So Pauline and anybody else in Australia, or England, if we have anybody from England, anybody who does not use the A2 size, your A4 size, you can still do this with, and I'm going to show you guys how to figure out the measurements and what to do no matter what envelopes you're using. All right. If you're not doing 5 by 7, you will need 3 pieces of cardstock. All right, so I am using these 3. So these are from the Celebrate Today. So this is the paper pack that Danielle used the other day. It is still available with the sticker sheet. Well, I guess it was as of 2 days ago. I didn't actually look before. Hi, Lisa and Gail, Brandy. Hi, Bobby. Thanks for joining us. All right, so 3 pieces of pretty cardstock that are double-sided. If your cardstock is not double-sided, you will want 4 pieces. No, you will want 5+ pieces. So you will have some extras left over. Because we're changing it, you will want a strip of cardstock that's about 2 inches by 12 inches, give or take. So I did not pretty up this album. I just did the basics, and I'm just going to show you the basics. I'm not going to pretty it up, but if you guys know what you want to do with it and you want to pretty up, go for it. I just wanted to kind of get you started with it. All right, you will also need, well, you won't need twine because we're changing that. You will need your paper trimmer, obviously. And then you're going to need to be able to do some scoring. So I'm going to use my scoreboard. You can use your paper trimmer, totally up to you. So first things first, let's take a look at our envelopes. I tend to do a lot of my measuring on my scoreboard. It sounds strange, I know. Well, I think it sounds strange anyway, but it works in my head because I have both measurements super handy. I can do it on my guide or my Versamat as well, but this is what I do. So my envelope is 4 3/8 by 5 3/4. Okay, and I know that it's kind of hard to see, but we have 4 3/8. See that tiny little bluish line? By 5 3/4. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to cut our paper down just a little bit, and one would think that you could just use your card, right? Your card base as your guide. But if we make, and I know it's white on white, so you're not going to be able to see this very well, but you'll be able to see the shadow here. So if I make my sides even on all 3 sides up there, there's a larger difference down here at the bottom. Okay. And like I said, I know you can't see that, but basically it's 1/8 of an inch on these 3 sides, and it's 1/4 of an inch on this down here. So we want to make it a little bit larger. So what we are going to do, so that's how you're going to figure out your pretty paper size. You are going to measure your envelope, and so our paper, using these envelopes, and these are the Close to My Heart envelopes, you saw me take them out of the package, we're going to make them 4 1/4 by 5 5/8. Okay, so I have, maybe I don't have, I was going to show you another envelope. I guess I do. So this is just an envelope that I've had in my stash. I don't know, I probably got it from a garage sale. So this one is actually exactly the same size. The only difference is that I have a triangle here for my opening instead of essentially a squared off opening. Okay. So I'll talk more about that here in just a few moments. All right, so before we go and put this away, let's do our scoring. So we are going to open up all 4 of our envelopes. We are going to grab our scoring tool. Like I said the other day, my drawers are still a mess. All right, so I know you can't see, so I'm going to point it out to you. So our envelope right here is 4 3/8, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to add an 1/8 score. So we're just going to go to the 4 1/2, and we're going to score. So my suggestion is do multiple that are not deep, so you don't rip through your paper, because this is your hinge you're talking about, so we don't want to rip it. So we're doing 2 of them like that, at 4 1/2 on 2 of them. And then on the other 2, we are going to just had to double check. We are actually going to do 4 5/8. Okay, so that is the next tiny little line. My scoring tool is kind of catching, and I don't want to rip through, and I don't want to skip over to the next slot. So 4 5/8. And yes, they're not my kids, but there are kids outside hollering, and I know you can probably hear that since you could hear the dogs the other day. But it gets really warm in this room if I close that window, and if I turn on the fan, then you can't hear me, so you get to hear the kids. Sorry. All right, so we are done with our scoring tool. Oh, and you will want your bone folder, sorry. All right, done with scoring. Right, that part was easy, right? All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to cut our papers. So these are the designs on both of mine. So I have 2 that are the same and 1 that is different, but we're going to cut them all the same. So we are going to, and this is what's important first, is if your paper has a design that there's a definite top and a definite bottom, you want your top and bottom on the sides, not the top and bottom. Does that make sense? So top and bottom should be on the sides, not where you would think they would be. All right, so we are doing 5 5/8. So that is just after the 1/2 inch. And we are going to cut all of our papers with that measurement first. So you'll have 2 from each paper. I'm going to turn this one over and do this one this way. 5/8. If I was thinking, I should have cut that one from the other way, but that's okay. All right, 5/8. And 5/8. All right, so we are going to take 1 of each of our papers, and then two of the others. So if you have paper that is not your favorite, set that one off to the side. I'm going to choose that one just because. All right, so we have 5 pieces that are 5 5/8 by 12. All right, with me so far? And then we're going to cut our next measurement, which is 4 1/4. And this one I'm actually going to turn so I can make sure to get the design from both sides. So all of them are cut 4 1/4. Oops. Pretty simple. If you wanted to, you could use 6 different sheets of paper. Totally up to you. I'm okay with a little bit of repetition in my papers, and you could mix and match from paper packs. That is super fun to do sometimes. If I'd thought I had more, I probably would have done that, but that's okay. All right, so that is not all of the cutting that we're going to do, but that's all that we're going to do for right now. All right, so next we are going to take our envelopes and we are going to fold them at our line here. And I have found if you take a ruler and hold it up against this line, especially with the tiny increments that we're using, and just kind of bend up against your ruler, it helps a ton in trying to get that to fold straight. All right. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I will slow down. And then the other 2. Oops. I just want to say thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for sharing. I know that you guys are sharing because we are up to 173 members. That is fantastic. Like, so surprising to both Danielle and I. It's mind-blowing. There's no other word. It just is. So thank you. Thank you, thank you. And we hope that you guys are having a blast with all of this. I know we are. All right, so you have your 2 that are just 1/8, and you have your 2 that are 1/4. You're gonna put the ones that are 1/4 off to the side, because these need to go in a specific order for this to work. So you're going to glue the 2 that are 1/8 together, and then, so it'll be 1/8, 1/8, 1/4, 1/4. Make sense? All right. And I am going to use my ATG gun. I know you guys don't see that very often, do you? Just because it is fast and easy, and I know that there's enough glue on here to get me through this project. So we are gluing, making sure to stay to the right side of that score line that we made. And then we are going to put our envelope. Now here's the kicker. You want something to line up with. So a Versamat, a cutting Why can I never remember what this silly sheet thing is called? Because our envelope is, the flap comes in, we want to make sure that our whole thing is straight. And so we want to make sure that when we glue this down, it is up against the score line, not over the score line. And we want to make sure that it is lined up so it will be straight. This was easier to do on my sample when I wasn't talking, I promise. Maybe because I wasn't talking and wasn't thinking. Sometimes that gets me in trouble when I'm crafting. I don't know about you guys. All right, so we have a tiny little gap here, okay? So we are going to do the exact same thing on the rest of the pieces. Very simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Have any of you guys tried the Pink Whitney drink yet? It is an alcoholic beverage. It is delicious. If you like pink lemonade. If you don't like pink lemonade, you're probably not going to like Pink Whitney. But yeah, it's yummy. We mix it with a little bit of pink lemonade, like Minute Maid. If you have a recipe for pink lemonade, please share, like to make your own, because I would love to be able to make some pink lemonade and not have to buy Minute Maid lemonade. Not that there's anything wrong with buying that, but all right, hopefully you guys are crafting with me because nobody's chatting. I would rather have you craft with me than chatting, so just saying, I'm not complaining. Or you're chatting and I'm just not seeing it because my phone stopped. Also a possibility. Now using a liquid glue here might also be in your favor if you're not very talented and constantly pulling apart. If you use a liquid glue, you'll have a little bit of maneuverability before it sets. And so, all right. Oh, so I'm not quite even. That's okay. But you can see the different layers in here, right? Super easy. All right, so once you have your little mini album put together, like this is the base of it, you're done with the base. Now you get to make it pretty. It's super easy. Danielle says, so Jackie says she's working. Danielle says she doesn't know what that drink is. All right, hold on, let me close the window. Kids is one thing, vacuums is another. All right, sorry. Okay, Pink Whitney. It's a vodka drink, and it's paired with a pink lemonade. So if you are a vodka drinker, you may not have to add anything to it. The wimpy people like me, I mix it half and half, maybe, depending. So, yeah. All right, so now what you need to do, all your papers that you have, you need to choose which one you want to be your front cover and which one you want to be your back cover. right? So, you know, of course we have the back sides as well. You know, originally I was like, oh, hey, I should do this as a guy one. And then I totally did not. All right, I think I'm gonna stick with the pink. So the 1/8, the tiny scores go on the 2 left pieces and the 1/4 inch go on the 2 right. So 1/8, 1/8, 1/4, 1/4. 1/8, 1/8, 1/4, 1/4. Okay. I'm gonna close this up again. All right. Danielle says, I have all the noises. All right, so you're gonna have all these to choose from. This is what I have found works best for me when I'm trying to put together a lot of pieces to make sure that they go well and I can flip through the book and still make sense of things. So I'm just going to add just a tiny little bit in the middle, and then I'm going to tack it on there. And it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to go back through and you know, really glue them down. But this way I can flip through the book and say, okay, these two work together. And then if I get to a point where I have 2 papers that are identical, which is kind of what happened here, I had to move one of these pieces from someplace else, and I still have these, but, and I know I didn't use the back side of that because it's not my favorite paper of that whole pack. It didn't fit well with the colors. All right, so, and then we just continue on. So let's see here, let's do one of these. And this one. And again, we're just tacking them down. And and it really is just a whole process of, does this look good next to each other? And then, oh yeah, we open it up and we have a few more to go. And kind of how do we want to do that? And what colors do we want to play into here or there? And then remember that you have the back cover, which is what this one is. So here's something to consider. So we've opened this all up and we have 2 next to each other. So the only time you see it is when you have it open like this. However, you may not like that, you know, because when we were opening it, it's like this. So totally up to you. And your albums may not do this, maybe it's just my environment, but I've had a lot of kind of some static suction with my papers when I'm flipping them open and stuff. They like to stick to my desktop. Very strange. So something to keep in mind. So I think I'm going to change this. And then I need the back cover as well. Let's go with this one. And then I never did use any of that paper. That's okay. All right. So this is how we look so far. Now, before we glue anything down, if you are using an envelope that has a V of an opening, I would recommend trimming your papers down. So the best way to do that, I think, and this is totally up to you, is slip your paper in. And it is going to be a tight fit because we only allowed for a tiny bit of, oh goodness, only a tiny bit of room. So use your light source and make sure that your paper is in all the way. Try and make it centered, top to bottom. Well, and then pull it a smidge out. So I know you can't see it, but when you look through the light, make sure that you have that same border that you would have when you glue it down. And then grab your pencil, and I'm not going to do it because I don't want to, I'm not doing that with this. Then take your pencil and trace around. And then when you pull this out, just cut on that line. If you want to be able to see your envelope, then cut just inside that line. Otherwise, just cut at it and then you'll be able to see that opening. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, holler, let me know. All right. Out of the way. All right, so now it's time to glue. And it really is just gluing it down. Oh, here is the little secret of gluing so that you can make sure that you're not gluing your pocket closed. So, like I said, I am using the Close to My Heart envelopes. And I'm going to do this way so you can see. Oh goodness. This really shouldn't be this difficult. I don't know why it is. Probably because I'm on camera. All right, so if you were to, I'll pull this out to where it would be. If you were to glue your paper flat down, you would glue where this is and you would glue this pocket closed. Now, if you do not want all of them to be pockets, then go ahead and do that. But because I do want these to be pockets, what I am going to do is I am going to put my glue on my envelope just here at the flap. Okay, so my glue goes from here to here. Okay, you still can't see that very well, can you? So pencil mark to pencil mark, that's where my glue is along that flap. Okay, Jackie asks why. Jackie, can you be more specific as to why? Because there's a delay, and so I want to make sure I'm answering the correct why. All right, so it doesn't matter necessarily on this piece, but I am going to, so if I'm going to glue it this way, I'm going to flip it over. I am not going to put glue here on this side. I'm going to do these 3 sides and 1 in the middle. Okay, makes sense? So I'm going to do these 3 sides. And watch, if I run out of glue, I might throw a fit. I should be fine. And then 1 in the middle. So there's no sticky here, sticky, 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 and one in the middle. Jackie, we are not putting these inside. I was just using the plaid one to show why you would not want to put glue here on all 4 edges like you would normally do if you are gluing a paper down. So we have no glue on this side. This is going to be the side going here, and we have our glue here. And then we're just going to line up so our stuff is equal-ish on all 4 sides. And then I still have my pocket ability. Okay, so one more time in slow-mo. So this one does matter because I do want this blue to be at the top. So I'm going to make sure that when I glue, I'm paying attention to how I want this. So again, I'm going to do glue from here to here-ish. On the envelope itself. This side I do not want glue on, so I'm just going to put an X there. You don't have to put an X. I'm just, not that you can see my X on camera, because of course it's a busy background. And then do my 3 sides and one in the middle. And then line up. Make sense? All right. So we're just going to keep doing that. That was a bit far away from the edge. And you do want to be close to the edge on the edges that you are gluing, so that everything stays nice and neat when you're putting it together. When I just tack my pieces down, you may have noticed, maybe not, when I pull them up, I kind of lift one edge and turn, and that helps to not distort the paper. Because different glue has different stick abilities, of course. So Jody says the pockets make sense, but she's wondering what we're going to put in them. So we are going to use 2 card bases, and we're going to split them in half to put inside, and you'll have scraps that you can decorate these pieces with. So these, you'd be able to put almost full-size photographs on there because, you know, pictures, standard size pictures are 4 by 6. So you'd have to cut off a little bit because these are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So you'd cut off just under an inch to fit into here, or you can make them smaller pictures as well. So you can put the pictures on the cards, or you can just print them and tuck them in. You can put pictures on the individual pages as well. You can do tags, you can do gift card tags. I mean, you can put almost anything you wanted to. Pauline is asking, if you wanted to, can you add more envelopes? You can add more envelopes. The thing to take into consideration, here, let me glue the rest of them and then I'll show you what and how and why to take something into consideration. All right. So when you get to the back side, you can glue all 4 just like you normally, all 4 sides like you normally would, because there are no pockets on the back side. This is where we have our flaps attached, right? So you can kind of see that this is where my flap is. and we are just attaching. So as I was saying, I pull and twist, and that moves the glue as opposed to moving the paper. Not that you won't get tears sometimes, depending on how good your glue is or how much of your glue you use, will be the determining factor in that. Let's see, I think this one moves this way. That's what I get for talking and not paying attention. I am almost done with this paper pack. Danielle is going to be jealous. She said earlier in the chat that hers seems to be multiplying. It's never the paper that you want to multiply that multiplies. Not that this is a bad paper to multiply, but you know, everybody's got their favorite paper and you tend to use it, and then you're like, I want some more of that and I don't have any more of that. Like, that's happened to everybody I know. Okay. It's probably a good thing that I closed that window, because now I can hear lawnmowers a couple houses down. It's crazy. All right, so there's our album, not done, but almost done. Like, it's kind of cool. So you can see that it is, oh, I have an idea I'll show you here in just a second, and I've done it before and I don't know why I didn't do it today. All right, but you can see how it's filling out now that we have our paper in there. It's not quite as squished together as it was. So here's an idea to help keep them lined up. If you don't have a grid paper to use, or even if you do, you can kind of see, let's see, let me get to the, let's see if I can show you. So you can kind of see, oh, here, maybe if I do this way, almost. Anyway, my envelopes are not lined up 100%. Even though you saw me, I used the grid paper. So here's an idea for future reference. If you take out your scoreboard and you take your envelopes, I'm not gluing these together, I just grabbed them out so I could show you. Right, and you have your score line. If you line your envelope up against the top and then put it down, it'll be lined up perfectly every time. I don't know why I didn't do that. That was dumb on my part. I should have done that. All right. Anyway, so that's how you can do it perfectly straight. All right. Move this out of the way. That's one of those things that I knew in advance and I forgot about, and yeah. All right, so back to Pauline's question. If you wanted to, can you add more than just 4 envelopes? So the answer is yes. If you are going to fold it like this, like we did here, you're going to need to continue to graduate the score marks that you have. I would not do more than 2 at the same. Does that make sense? So we did these first 2 envelopes at 1/8 inch each, and then we did these 2 at 1/4 inch each. That's really hard to say. So if you add more, I would probably do 3/8 inch for each additional. That way you keep enough room for it to not bow. Okay, so if we added, how can I show you this? Well, let's just take 2 more envelopes. Okay, so if I just tucked these 2 envelopes in here, well, that's not a very good example. Well, I mean, it kind of is. You can see that this is now full, right? If I add any more to it, this flap is not going to close well, and those 2 envelopes do not have any papers on them yet. So that's going to be another going to be another 4 papers, right? So here are 4 papers. We'll add those in as well, right? And you can see that it's bowing. Okay, well maybe you can't see, but I can kind of see, right? And that's not counting any pictures or tags or anything else that you're going to put in there. Sorry, I know I beat that horse to death. Sorry. I get accused of that. But I want to make sure it makes sense. All right. So we have our basics done. So we need to cover our flap and we need to do a closure. So there are lots of closure options. For this one, I used this little hanger. It's actually called a photo hanger. And like I said, I know there's a way to tie this. I don't remember what it is. If somebody knows how to do that and you can find a video, will you please send it to me? I literally can't remember. I have tried and I know I've seen it and I can't find it. So there is that. Another option, which I was going to do, but I cannot find my circle dies. I don't know where they are and it's really bothering me right now. Is you can cut a circle and use a brad and attach a circle here. And when you do that, you attach the string underneath. And yes, I'm just going to use this string because I know it's attached, but that way you can wrap it around and then you could do around the circle thing like the old envelopes. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. So there's that option. And then the option that we are going with today is we are going to do a belly band. So super simple, easy. So we need a closure and we need our belly band. So these are the 3 pieces that we cut off. So that one is the only different one. So these 2 are the same, and then this one has the circles on the back. And then we have, these are our extra pieces. So we have this one, which is the 5 3/8 by 12, right? We have these 2, which are the same size as the rest of the sheets. So they're 5 3/8 by 4 1/4. And then we have, these ones are kind of a really bad example because of the paper that I chose. So we'll just do this. So you have 5 pieces that are 3 3/4 by, well, this should be 5 3/4. I'm not sure why that's not 5 3/4. Maybe I cut something slightly off. I don't know. So, so that's what you have left to decorate with. So, good news, bad news. You have a lot of paper-ish, lot-ish left of paper. Bad news is these papers will not work for our cover, because our cover, you don't want it to be this same size. You want it to be the full length of your album. So you want it to be 5 3/4 in height. So you need to use this paper. Probably should have specified that in advance so that you can make sure that your flat paper matches with your front cover paper. Sorry. So I'm going to use this sprinkle side. All right, and I am going to cut this at 5 3/4. And then I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 1 7/8. You can do 2 inches and make it super easy. I didn't want it to be that much bigger. Did I write that down? Nope. See, I said 2 inches on my notes and I did different, but then I also scored different on this one too. So 1 3/4 is perfect. So if I line it up on the score line and move it down some, you can see that it does hang over extra. All right, maybe if I choose different, get this out of the way. Choose something darker for you to see against. All right, so this is lined up against the score line, and you can see that it has some extra. And I know it's a little bit of a ways away, but I'm pretty sure you can still see that little step there. So if you are using the brad and the circle or the photo hanger like I did, you want to glue on your front, put your brad in, and then glue on your back. That way your pokey bits of your brad are hidden away. If you want to do a magnet closure, which you could also do, you want to put it on your front cover before you put your paper down, and then put it on the flap before you put the inside paper down. So I guess there's more options than I actually listed. Sorry, I forget about magnets. I love them, but I forget about them. All right, so let's glue this on here. And I am going to get as close to the edges as I possibly can. And once in the middle as well. I want to make sure that this is going to stick really, really well. I'm going to use that trick I showed you, bring in my scoreboard. And then, all right, let me show you another little trick that I forgot about too. Because I kept trying to get this to lay down and line up against the score line and everything, and I was having problems yesterday. So if you take a piece of, actually, take your second piece. So this piece is going to be my inside piece. I'm just going to add a little tack on there. Oh my goodness. All right, gluing on the front. So this is the front. This is my piece that has just a little bit of tack. I'm going to tack that on the inside, right? With me so far? All right, and this one doesn't matter how it's lined up because literally all you're doing is using it to keep your flap down so that as you are lining, and of course now it's not going to really matter because it's going to behave, and you're just going to line up on your score line. And press down. And then you're going to pull off this piece. Right, so you can see where this overhangs. Basically, you can see that, right? And then you are just going to line up this piece on top of it. So if you are doing a brad or whatnot, brad or a magnet or something you have to pierce through your paper, you want to do that before you glue on the inside piece. And I literally am just going to line up the inside pieces, and voila. All right, now our little flap is covered. Okay, super simple. Our book is almost done. Now we need a belly band. So you have a couple different options. You can use a piece of cardstock, super easy option, I would do, yeah, right about 2 inches. Makes it nice and sturdy. You can do it smaller. You don't want to do it too small because then it's not going to work very well. You don't want to do it too large, although if you're going to do large, go large, right? Take up most of it. But then you're going to want something on there to decorate it. So you could use a PML card if you had one, or Project Life, or sticker sheet, lots of things. But most of the time I'm going to say go about 2 inches. So these pieces are not 2 inches. However, so let's look at this. So pink would probably be a safe bet. It matches front and back. I know we have blue on the inside, but you kind of want to go with what's on the outside for your belly band stuff. So we could go with the yellow. We could go with the orange, or we could go with the pink, because those are all played into here on this, which will be seen, and on the back as well. All right. So you can do cardstock, or if you have the paper, I'm actually going to do this because heck yeah, it's all part of the paper. All right, 2 inches. And I love that it's kind of the watercolor, so it plays into it. All right, so we are going to put our paper in the center of our book, and we are going to fold. We are just going to crease it by hand a little bit, and then we're going to fold and burnish that first line. Because our book is not very sturdy, I don't want to put too much pressure on it just yet. All right, so we are not doing this with a scoreboard. We are doing this based on what our album is. Okay, so we have it flat here, right against the side, and I'm making sure to hold the book so this is flat, and then I'm just going to pinch. Okay, and then I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to roll that so that part is the flat part, and burnish that. So now we have 2 lines burnished. Make sense so far? Okay. Now, generally speaking, we would do the same thing on this side, but I know that this side is more flimsy than this side. So what I'm going to do is just turn this around, because we want to keep everything on the book itself, right? So we're going to make sure that our sides are straight. And if you need to, you can move your band, upper or lower. Where it is on the book doesn't really matter at this point, because it's not staying there, obviously. Now, when you burnish this next one, you don't want to make it too tight, because then you won't, A, be able to get it off, and B, put anything else into the book. So you want it loose but tight. I know, it's an oxymoron, right? You're like, what the heck does that even mean? And then we're gonna burnish that. All right, so this is where we are so far. We've got 3 of our 4 spots burnished. All right, and then when we come over, we're gonna line up with our piece that's already flat. And we're gonna give it just a smidge of extra room. Okay, so hopefully that part makes sense. I know your brain says make it fit tight. I know it does, mine did, it used to, and now I know better, because yeah, I've done that too many times. All right. So then now we have our belly band. The next part is totally subjective. So you can see if I do this, we have a lot of overlap. So you can cut off on either end, you can cut off some. Obviously you still want it to overlap, you have to glue it together somehow. But what you could do, all right, so here's my overlap again. You could cut off a little bit here. It doesn't matter on the underside how much is cut off. What matters is the top side, because that is where you're going to put your decoration for the front. Okay, so I am gonna cut off, I think 1/2 inch. I could do it with scissors. I don't cut very straight with just scissors. I'm gonna do 3/4 inch. All right, so let's look at this again. So this is what we're at so far. So the secret for gluing belly bands, if you don't know this already, somebody didn't teach you very well. If you do know this already, give me a thumbs up when I tell you. So the secret is you put glue on this end. So that's the inside or the outside edge of the top, the outside edge of the inside, and then one in the middle. Does that make sense? And the one in the middle is subjective depending on how much you have over. And that way you don't have to guess, like you're not putting too much glue this way, you're not putting too much glue this way. You do the outside edge, and sometimes the center, but you don't even need the center. And then you glue together on your project. On your project. If you are using a liquid glue, put something underneath it to protect it, right? Glue it, let it sit for just a few seconds so it will set some, and then take it off. Okay, so glue on the outside, glue on the outside, right? With me so far? And then I'm just going to do one more strip kind of in the center. So I have glue here, and glue here on the pink. And then just make sure that it's lined up and give it a good press. Voila! So it's easy to take on and off. At this point, it is heavy enough that if you shake it, it might come off, or maybe not. Okay. You can flip this around either direction. Totally up to you. At this point, what you're going to want to do for your belly band is to I'm trying to find a small piece. 1 second. Seriously. When I want a small piece, there's not one. When I don't need one, there are abundance of them. All right, just because it's handy. Actually, it's a pretty decent size. So you can take your whatever image you want to do. So this one is what, 2 by 3? Almost. So you could do a 3 by 3, that would be pretty good. And then you can add a mat to it to make it a little bit more stable. And then that's what you use to cover that joint in your paper so that the back side, it's clean. There's no There's no interruption. And a lot of people don't do it this way. A lot of people will put this on the back because, well, it's where the joint is, so you don't want to see it, so you're going to put it in the back, right? Except that you're still going to see it and you're still going to feel it. So if you put it on the front, if you pay attention to where you have your joint, you can easily cover it. Okay? So it's super simple. And like I said, I'm not gonna do any decorating of the albums. I wish I could remember how to tie this. It's been bugging me since yesterday. You can ask Danielle, you can ask my husband. He's like, just tie it in a slip knot. So, all right, so all these extra pieces that you have, let me bring those back in. All right, so these are our extra pieces. I'm gonna flip this over here. Right? So you have a few different options. And I did say earlier 2 card bases. I did not grab those out, I can. Just cut those in half and you can fit them into each slot. You can use your paper to decorate your cards. You can use your paper to decorate your belly band. You can do all sorts of things. You can leave these plain white if you'd like to, or you could just not use these. You could just put photos in there, or you can get some cardstock and do photo mats and things like that. So this is what you have left, not counting your belly band. This is what you have left from your paper, your 3 sheets of paper. So you easily could add another envelope and have enough paper for that. But yeah, does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? So Jackie says, thank you. She didn't know that. I'm gonna go with that was probably about the joint on the belly band. And Pauline says she has two obviously twin granddaughters that are turning 11 next week. So she's going to make one for each of them. They will love that. Gail loves the belly band idea, but has used the twine and the brad previously. Maria loves the mini albums. Let's see, did I miss anything else? I don't think so. All right, so let's see. And Danielle says the leftovers would be great for cards. They would be perfect for cards. These 2 are ready for a card front. You would want to make it just a smidge shorter, right? These are your card fronts. So you'd have just a smidge that you'd have to cut off and it would be ready for card front. These ones would be fun like that. Obviously, again, you'd have to cut it off just a little bit. But yeah, you have so many cards that you could make from this. So anyway, I had a lot of fun. I hope that you guys find this useful. There will be, if there's not already, because Danielle's been super fantastic about getting these up, there will be an album for today's projects up. If it's not up already, it will be there shortly. Make sure to post, share what you do. We want to see. We really, really do. I promise. We want to see. We are loving them. I know I have comments to leave still for Danielle's class yesterday on the tunnel card, and I still have to make mine because that was super fun. So, so yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to see your albums, and we will have something else for you tomorrow. It's Friday. We will be doing a Zoom virtual crop on Saturday. We will post the time later today when we have that absolutely figured out. And so hopefully you guys can come and crop with us. We are going to be doing them at different times of day so different people can join. We know that, you know, things happen on Saturday. Even when you're supposed to be at home, there's still yard work and chores and stuff to be done at home. I don't recommend going shopping because it's crazy busy on Saturday and Sunday at the stores around here. Anyway, I'll keep that thought to myself. So we'll put that information out there so that you can come join us. And then we will have a project for you on Sunday. We know it's Easter. It will not be a live. It'll be something pre-recorded for you guys so that you don't have to worry about coming and finding us when you're doing your celebrations, if you're celebrating, and kind of going from there. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to shut my trap now and go back to work because that's what I get to go do now. So thanks guys and gals, and I will see you later. Bye.